for another Nebraska Prep Zone report. We are sponsored today by MD West One, Nebraska's most advanced sports medicine, orthopedics, neurosurgery, and spine care, covering Greater Omaha for over 70 years. I'm your host, Jake Anderson. Joining me, as always, is Mike Sautter. How are you doing today, Mike?
Doing good. Got day baseball on. That's good. So, yeah.
Can't complain about day baseball, and we got NBA Finals tonight. I mean, it's a good time to be a sports fan.
Yeah, a lot going on. Multiple baseball games during the day and NBA Finals. So that'd be fun.
Well, let's dive right into it here. We got a few Nebraska football walk-on offers going out in the past week, and a walk-on commit. Ashland-Greenwood's Matthew Schuster, a few of the other offers, Creighton Prep's Alex Bullock, Elkhorn's Aiden Young, Lincoln Lutheran's Wyatt Marr, and Lincoln Southeast Tavion Thompson.
Right. So Schuster is a legacy, if you will. His dad, Brian, played fullback at Nebraska. And he's a guy that Nebraska's been on for a while. He was at Cozad, and then moved back to Ashland-Greenwood. Kind of a shorter back. Remind you a lot of why can't I think of his name? Holy cow. Just lost it. Millard West guy. Anyway, remind you a lot of Brody Belt from Millard West, Millard West grad who's a walk-on running back. That's kind of what I think Schuster kind of fits or looks like. And it's a good fit. He didn't have any other offers per se right now. There's a bunch of other schools that were kind of talking to, or a handful of other schools that were talking to him, but didn't offer yet. So kind of took what he knew and said he had a long relationship with Kenny Wilhite, the director of high school relations for Nebraska. He's basically the one in charge of the walk-on program, or getting kids to walk on. And it's a nice fit. He's had a really good start for Ashland-Greenwood. They're undefeated. He's been a big part of that. And so it's a good fit. As far as Bullock is concerned, South Dakota State offered him, and he has some other schools like in Northern Illinois and even Washington State that's kind of talked to him a little bit. He's a fantastic hands catcher, likely has the best hands of any wide receiver in the state. I mean, he catches everything that's in his area. He's a gamer. It makes big plays in big situations. He just doesn't run like that, low 4.5, 4.4 stuff in order to kind of be that next level guy as far as scholarship, and that's what he's been told. If Nebraska can land him as a walk-on, it'd be a huge get for Nebraska. I think the world of him and his work ethic. I think he's really good. And Tavion Thompson, Lincoln Southeast, outside linebacker, wide receiver. He's 6'4", 200. Plays kind of that outside linebacker, but more can be dropping coverage and play safety. Big-bodied guy. I'm guessing Nebraska would like him to be an outside linebacker. Really would be, I think, a solid special team sort of contributor, obviously at first. Tough kid, looks great, like just, looking at him from on the field or on a sideline. Really good athlete too, nice basketball player, leaper, all that stuff. Aiden Young is the running back / defensive back. I'm guessing probably more of a defensive back at the next level. From Elkhorn, he's that team's leader. His leadership qualities are huge. He brings a lot to the table. Is super fast. I mean, probably one of the fastest players in the state as far as just straight line speed goes. So he'd be a nice addition if they can get it done. And Wyatt Marr, I think, is one I personally don't know a lot about, and I don't think a lot of people do. 6'6", 255, from Lincoln Lutheran, has a really nice frame to be offensive lineman. I'm thinking, probably a offensive tackle, and because he has that height and length. You put the tape on and you can see that. Maybe could be a defensive end too. I think either one, or O-line, D-line, get it, let him add some weight, get him up to 285 or something like that in a few years, and might be a guy. So Nebraska's finally kind of taken a while, I think, to start. It feels like it's taken a while to start kind of popping out some of those walk-on offers. Normally those things are kind of moving in the right direction a little bit faster. Schuster is the first known walk-on commit in the 2021 class, meaning he's the only one we know about. Or that's made it public anyway. So it's off to a good start if you're a Nebraska football fan, and obviously we know Nebraska football fan likes to talk about walk-ons. So that's
it's lifeblood of the program, as people will say.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that that's kind of proving a little bit, right? Like you walk-ons are playing a little more, and a little more, and a little more. Not like that's a great thing. Obviously, you want one every now and again to pop, but if you're relying on walk-ons to get the job done, that's probably not the best thing. Or maybe it's just something where maybe it was a misevaluation by somebody, some other school, or it's Nebraska did a really good job of evaluating kids and getting them to walk on. So it's kind of a mix of all that.
Yeah, and we've seen plenty of kids get opportunities, as you noted. We've also seen a few walk-ons, transfer to a smaller school where they'll get more playing time. Mm-hmm. So we've seen both. But the question I have, with kind of a flurry of offers going out now and likely more to come, Nebraska usually does that walk-on event a little bit later in the season where they get a few of those guys on campus and they kind of have 30 of their top walk-ons on campus. Obviously, they won't be able to do that this year. What do you think in lieu of that could be the plan for some of these kids?
Well, I think maybe you just do it virtually. Maybe that's what you do. Maybe you have a virtual kind of Zoom thing, or if there's a way you can have, maybe you don't do 30, but maybe you do 10 kids and kind of do it that way. It would likely be how you could do it. Smaller numbers and all that. I'm guessing that's maybe in the works or the plan, or do some sort of a secured live stream thing where kids can maybe ask questions and stuff like that.
Yeah. And one other recruiting note before we get into some game previews. Lincoln Southeast, Derek Branch committed to Cornell. Bit of a smaller one there, but definitely, anytime you go join the Big Red.
Yeah. He's a really good athlete too. And obviously really smart, because, in order to go to Cornell, you have to, they don't give athletic scholarships per se, but they still need to offer you a position on the team. So he told me that was the one school that's been recruiting him the longest or the most, and he felt comfortable to get it done. Had a what they call a blitz, or that staff calls a blitz, which is the best they can do of kind of an official visit, and that really impressed him. So probably likely plays defensive back and wide receiver for Southeast. One of their best athletes on the field for Southeast. So it feels like a nice fit there.
Definitely. And let's jump right into these games because we got some good ones this week. The first one here is your Pinnacle Bank game of the week, and looks like the best matchup. Class A, number 8, Gretna coming in undefeated, 5-0 at Class B, number 4, Omaha Skutt, 4-1. A good mid-season battle test for both these teams.
Yeah, Gretna and Skutt used to play a lot when Gretna was in Class B. The last time they played, I believe, was 2017. and kind of a nice rivalry they had between each other. Gretna's 5-0 for the first time since they've been in Class A, which is 3 years. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the state, and he's just a sophomore in Zane Flores. That guy is really, really good and really, one to look out for as far as maybe potentially getting power conference level offers and whatnot.
What is it about his game that excites people?
Well, he's he has a bunch. He's not a bunch. He's a quiet confidence quarterback, which I think is a great thing. Very much so in the mold mentality of like a Max Duggan and Cole Payton. Max Duggan, who's at TCU, and Cole Payton, the senior at Westside. They just go about their business and are confident. Throws a great ball. He's a stereotypical or more stereotypical pocket passer than a dual threat guy. He's not going to, pull it down and run it right now. At this point, he's 6'2", 180 right now. So as his body matures, maybe he ends up running the ball a little bit more. Throws a great ball. Mechanics are great. Footwork is great. Just has that next level kind of feel. Not a lot of guys you just kind of know, right, when you see it. Not a lot of guys are like that. There obviously isn't very many power conference quarterbacks that come out of Nebraska very often, and he, I believe, is likely to be he's for sure in the conversation, and I think likely going to eventually get an offer from somebody.
What does Scott need to do here?
Well, I mean, really just control the ball. Do what Scott does, play solid defense, try and limit Gretna's possessions. Flores has almost 1,200 yards passing in 5 games. He's averaging just under 240 yards passing a game. They do run it decently well, kind of a mix of a bunch of guys. You have Nathan Minaric is their leading rusher, just over 200 yards. But what they really excel at is throwing the football. And that's 2 seniors for them in Trevor Marshall and Jackson Alexander that have great seasons. They both have 6 touchdowns, I believe, and Marshall has over 500 yards receiving, and Alexander has over 400 yards receiving right now. So that's the key. Like, how do you stop those 2 senior wide receivers on the outside and a really good quarterback throwing it to them? And a way to do that is just do what Scott does: run the ball, limit their possessions, play solid defense. Run. Barrett Liebentritt has had a really nice year. He's probably one of the more underrated guys, I think, this year. He's had a great year for Scott. A lot of people are just talking about Scott and how they had the guys transferring in, or only three guys transferring in to Scott after OPS canceled. And one of those guys is Sam Scott, who is one of the better seniors in the state. But Liebentritt's a really nice player, and linebacker, can play some running back. So I think it's a pretty fun matchup. Kind of going back to when they used to play each other and Class B stuff. And I think a lot of people still think of Gretna as a Class B school. But I do think that it'll be kind of an exciting game. I'm really looking forward to it. I know that.
Definitely. Our next matchup, Class A, number 9, Millard North, 1-3 at number 1, Omaha Westside, coming in 5-0. Westside is rolling this year.
As we expected, they're obviously Cole Payton leads the way, but they have Avante Dickerson. Cade Haberman's one of, if not the best linemen in the state, both sides, plays both ways. Avante Dickerson is an athlete that you get the ball in his hands. He can run by you at a running back, or he can just run past any defensive back, and Cole Payton's good enough to throw him the football. So that certainly is a thing. It'll be interesting. Ben Radish is a really good linebacker for them, and he'll likely have a really big night, I'm guessing, as far as stopping that option running attack that Millard North has. Millard North had to come back to win their one game they've had. They play the toughest schedule, man. Their schedule is extremely difficult, which, I guess you're Millard North. That's what you expect. You don't want to get a bunch of layups, right? So Quaintance at quarterback is a really tough player. I like him as an athlete. He's a really good athlete. Just going to be a matter of, can the West Side defense kind of limit possessions, and can Millard North just be patient enough to get 3.5 yards of play and run the ball? It's going to be really hard because that defense at West Side's good, and if they get behind, how patient are you in the run game? Let's say it's 10 or 14-0 real quick. What do you do, right? If you're Millard North, they can't play from behind. It's going to be a tough road to hoe for Millard North to pull that one out, I think.
Well, as we saw, Millard North can play from behind, but it was against a team not nearly as good as the Warriors, and so that adds an extra bit of a challenge here. It'll be an interesting.
Tyson Yonk is a really nice player for Millard North too. Watching him play against Lincoln East, he had a nice game, caught a touchdown pass, and is a pretty tough kid. So they're just going to have to limit possessions. That's basically, I think, they're obviously their way to win that game.
Interesting contrast of styles. Our next matchup, number 3 Millard South 3-1 at Lincoln Pius X 2-3. Good test for Millard South.
Yeah, I would say it's a decent test. You would expect Millard South to come out with the win. Pius hasn't been great this year. They haven't been terrible, but obviously haven't been great. Had a rough start, 2-3 right now, but I believe they won 2 in a row, and that's great. No, they haven't. Sorry, but they did beat North Star, lost to Gretna 35-3, beat Lincoln High, lost to Grand Island, lost to Lincoln East. It's gonna be a tough matchup for Pius to pull that one out. Millard South is really good. Yes, they lost, but they did get that week off to maybe get some things righted or corrected. Maybe kind of get a little break there. They had a tough start to the year as far as schedule wise was concerned, and probably got humbled a little bit by Bellevue West, even though they did put up 30 points against a really good Bellevue West defense. So, you'd expect that one to go in Millard South's favor, but you never know. Pius is always going to bring their lunch pail type of kids and work hard. So we'll see.
And then we have number 6 Creighton Prep 2-2 traveling to number 10 North Platte, undefeated thus far at 4-0.
Yeah, Prep coming back in the fashion that they did was incredible. Something. I obviously wish I was there to see that, because that's something you'll likely never see. But North Platte is undefeated. We're supposed to play Bellevue West, which maybe would have been their one hiccup, but that game didn't happen. They have a really good back, and Cody Wright, who's a senior that has 560 yards or something like that. North Platte's going to try and just run the ball and pound it at Prep. Not sure that's going to maybe work. Prep seems to have figured some things out. They have started really slow the last 2 games, though, obviously last week with the big comeback they had. They've started really slow, against Southeast and against Millard West. And so they're going to need to not start slow, particularly on defense, kind of maybe hope to get a little bit of a lead like everyone does. And they've gotten A.J. Rollins involved a lot, which is good, and Alex Bullock. So moving Sam Sledge to the inside as far as line play is concerned has been a benefit, I think, too. He's fantastic, really good athlete. So I expect North Platte maybe to run at AJ Rollins if he's playing on the defensive end side, which he normally does, and see if he can stop the run.
And it seems like Creighton Prep is doing a little bit more up-tempo, hurry up on offense, trying to get things moving a little bit quicker.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems to have been working for them. So it totally seems to have been working.
Our last matchup, a Class B battle, number 2 Norris 4-1, traveling to number 8 Plattsmouth 5-0. Are we going to find out if Plattsmouth is for real, undefeated against a tough Norris team?
Yeah, we are. This is their toughest test of the year. Kind of like Gretna, the schedule was lighter at the beginning of the year, and then kind of now we're pushing to where they're playing tougher teams at the back end here. Christian Meneses has put up huge numbers for Plattsmouth this year. They want to run the ball, and they want to run the ball between the tackles and even straight up the middle. They want to attack like that. And Norris has on offense obviously they have CJ Hood, who's a really good wide receiver. James Carney, a tight end / wide receiver, is really good as well. So I expect that game to be maybe a low scoring game, maybe in the 20s or 21-17 or 21-10 or something like that. Norris, I think, is the favorite just because Plattsmouth, as the saying goes, hasn't played anybody yet. So not like they haven't played anybody, but obviously, not the top or what are considered to be the top teams in B. We'll see if Plattsmouth can be one of them. And Christian Meneses is going to have a really big night if they're going to pull that one off.
Should be another good week of games. You'll be at Gretna, Omaha Skutt for the Pinnacle Bank game of the week. And the rest of the Any Prep Zone crew will have you covered across the board. Until next time, thanks for listening.
As the official team doctors for high school and college teams across Greater Omaha, MD West One Sports Med Doctors can get you back into the game stronger than ever. Meet the Sports Med team at mdwest1.com or call 402-390-4111.